What if I told you the most profitable product in history isn't oil, gold, or technology? It's something far older, more powerful, and completely invisible. It's debt. This is the story of how an ancient concept, carved into clay tablets, grew to dominate our modern world, shaping empires, fueling wars, and defining the very meaning of money. Thousands of years ago, in the bustling markets of Mesopotamia, long before the first coin was ever minted, humanity invented its most enduring financial tool. Farmers who needed seed for the next harvest, merchants looking to expand their trade, they didn't pay with gold. They paid with a promise. These promises, inscribed on clay tablets, were the world's first loans. This wasn't just about economics. It was about power. Rulers in Babylon understood that controlling debt meant controlling people. They could grant forgiveness to win loyalty or enforce repayment to maintain order. From its very beginning, debt was a double-edged sword, a tool for growth and a mechanism for control. As civilizations rose, so did their reliance on this powerful invention. In ancient Rome, debt wasn't just a personal matter. It was a state affair. The Republic teetered on the brink of collapse multiple times due to massive debt crises, with powerful lenders holding the fate of the nation in their hands. The very expansion of the Roman Empire was financed by borrowing against future conquests. This pattern echoed through the centuries. Fast forward to the Renaissance. How did explorers like Columbus fund their voyages to the New World? Not with chests of gold, but with loans from wealthy patrons and emerging banking families. Debt built ships, paid for crews, and promised a share of undiscovered riches. A few centuries later, the Dutch and British empires perfected this model. They didn't just conquer with cannons and ships. They conquered with bonds. By selling government debt to their own citizens and to international investors, they created a war chest that seemed limitless. They built the first global bond markets, financing navies and armies that would rule the waves and control trade routes across the planet. Debt had built empires, but the true revolution was yet to come. In 1694, a groundbreaking institution was born, the Bank of England. It was created for one primary purpose: to manage the government's massive war debt. This was the birth of national debt as we know it, a permanent feature of the modern state. This innovation unlocked something even more powerful: fractional reserve banking. The idea was simple yet world-changing. Banks didn't need to keep all their depositors' money in a vault. They could lend out a large portion of it, effectively creating new money out of thin air. With the rise of central banks and the move away from gold-backed currency, money itself became a form of debt. Every dollar bill in your pocket is technically an IOU from the central bank. Debt was no longer just a transaction. It had become a product, one that could be bought, sold, bundled, and traded on a massive, global scale. In the 20th century, this financial engineering went global. After the devastation of 2 world wars, institutions like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank were created to rebuild the world economy. Their primary tools, loans. They offered financial lifelines to struggling nations, but these came with strings attached. Suddenly, entire countries could be held accountable not by armies, but by international creditors. Policies were dictated, resources were claimed, and sovereignty was challenged, all through the terms of a loan agreement. Debt became the invisible empire. No armies needed, no shots fired. It was a quieter, more sophisticated form of global control, shaping the destiny of nations from behind the closed doors of boardrooms and government offices. While nations were being bound by sovereign debt, another profound shift was happening. After World War II, the engine of the global economy turned inward, toward the consumer. The age of personal debt had arrived. Credit cards went from being a novelty for the wealthy to a necessity for the middle class. By now, pay later wasn't just a slogan. It was a new way of life. Mortgages allowed millions to own homes, but it also tied them to decades of payments. Student loans promised a path to a better future. But for many, they became a lifelong burden. The same tool that built empires was now being sold to individuals. Debt was democratized and the chains became invisible. We weren't just citizens or workers anymore. We were debtors. This brings us to today. The system has become a trap. The 2008 financial crisis exposed the terrifying instability of a world built on borrowed money. We saw how complex debt products, repackaged and sold as safe investments, could bring the entire global economy to its knees. The response, not to reduce debt, but to create more of it. Central banks began printing money on an unprecedented scale, pushing global debt to an astronomical figure over $300 trillion. At this scale, debt is no longer just a tool we use. It's the system itself. It dictates economic policy, fuels inequality, and creates a cycle of boom and bust that grows more volatile with each passing decade. The promises we made to our future are coming due. So what is the lesson from this 5,000-year journey? Debt has always been a force of creation and destruction. It builds civilizations and tears them down. It can fund innovation and freedom, or it can be a tool of oppression and control. It is the ghost in the machine of our economy, the invisible force that shapes our lives, our nations, and our future. Once you see how debt really works, how it's created, war, its service, and what its true cost is, you will never look at money, credit, or your own freedom the same way again. Debt built the world you live in. It will decide how it ends. Thank you for joining us on this journey through financial history. If you found this exploration enlightening, please like this video and subscribe to The Financial Historian for more deep dives into the forces that shape our world. We'll see you next time.